On the 2nd of October 2025, a 35-year-old man, Jihad al-Shami, was the perpetrator of a car ramming attack, then knife attack, at the Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue in Manchester. The terrorist was shot dead by police at the scene. 2 Jewish people died in the terrorist attack on 2nd October. Another 3 people were hospitalized due to this attack. The very same night, pro-Palestine mobs took to our streets and train stations across Britain, including here in Scotland, in gleeful celebration of these horrendous attacks. They would have you believe these gatherings were emergency demonstrations for the flotilla of fools en route to their inevitable arrest by the IDF. This banner says it all, the reality of their twisted mindset, a matter of hours since the killing of 2 Jewish people on British soil. And these were the scenes in train stations and streets throughout Britain. Stand up to racism's statement after the Manchester attacks. It's vital that we promote peace, unity, and mutual respect, and stand together against hatred and division at this difficult time. These marches, often organized by Stand Up to Racism, do little, if anything, to promote inclusion, peace, unity, and mutual respect in our communities. The people that attend these protests are more often than not hostile, intimidatory, and even violent towards anyone they perceive as not being with them, often asking journalists, YouTubers, TikTokers why they are filming and why they are wearing a face covering, whilst large parts of their group hide behind masks, keffiyehs, placards, and umbrellas. Fascist scum, Nazi scum are 2 of these mobs' favorite chants, directed towards anyone that approaches them asking questions. Failing that, utter silence. Check this out.
Stand Up to Racism are kind of famous for going around calling people Nazis and fascists, anyone that disagrees with them. The problem is when you guys are on your own and people come and ask you questions, you're very quiet. Have you got anything to say? Do you think it might be divisive to go around shouting Nazis and fascists at people?
Utter silence.
Not much to say.
Let's see how the rest of this interview went.
Not to me. I wonder if later on, when you're surrounded by people in uniforms protecting you, you might have a little bit more to say when you're shouting at people. What do you think?
Generally, people that feel strongly about what they believe in have the courage of their convictions and want to speak out about their cause. Not this lot, not unless they number in their hundreds. And as the interviewer pointed out, the police are there so they can run to them claiming harassment. Let's watch the rest of this attempted interview.
Do you think, guys, that maybe some of the rhetoric used could potentially radicalise people on both sides of the political spectrum who don't agree with each other? Do you think calling people fascists and Nazis might have severe consequences, similar to what we've seen in the United States of America this week with the assassination of Charlie Kirk?
But wait, how did we get to this stage? How did we arrive at a Britain so polarized by a conflict thousands of miles away? And why this conflict?
Why not the Russo-Ukrainian War?
Why not the Myanmar Civil War?
Why not the Syrian Civil War?
Where Bashar al-Assad's dictatorship killed between 200 to 300,000 civilians, and even then some say this is an undercount. Why not the many ongoing conflicts in Africa?
Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, Sudan.
Maghreb in North Africa. Somalia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Ethiopia. Why don't these conflicts and the millions of civilians that were killed in these conflicts matter?
And when did people in Britain, Scotland, England, and Wales become Nazis? To answer these questions, let's have a quick look at recent history. The concept of a 2-state solution isn't a new one. It has been formally proposed or negotiated in various forms during each of the following years. 1937, the Peel Commission Report. 1947, the UN Partition Plan. 1967, UN Resolution 242 and the Land for Peace Principle.
Important interlude.
On the 18th of August 1988, Hamas created and published to the world their charter.
This charter calls for the destruction of Israel. The exact wording is this: Israel will exist and will continue to exist until Islam will obliterate it, just as it obliterated others before it. Also, it is no coincidence that the term Nazi appears 4 times in Hamas's original charter. Article 20. The Islamic spirit is what should prevail in every Muslim society. The society that confronts a vicious enemy which acts in a way similar to Nazism, making no differentiation between man and woman, between children and old people. Such a society is entitled to this Islamic spirit. In their Nazi treatment, the Jews made no exception for women or children. Their policy of striking fear in the heart is meant for all. Article 31. Islam prevents the incursion on other people's rights. The Zionist Nazi activities against our people will not last for long. Article 32. There is no way out except by concentrating all powers and energies to face this Nazi, vicious Tatar invasion. And there we have it. 37 years ago, the seeds were sown.
But wait. Hold on. Didn't the Nazis attempt to eradicate the Jews during World War II? What has that got to do with people here being branded Nazis?
Keep watching and listening, all will be revealed. Nazism, properly termed National Socialism, was the ideology of the German Nazi Party, the National Sozialistische Deutsche Arbeiterpartei, NSDAP, National Socialist German Workers' Party. The term Nazi, National Socialist, was an insult coined by opponents, hence Nazism. So here's the first point. The Nazis didn't call themselves Nazis. It was a derogatory term coined by their opponents. A key ideological principle, one of the core tenets of the Nazis, was the virulent anti-Semitism that portrayed Jews as enemies of the state and the Aryan race, ultimately leading to their systematic extermination.
Okay, yeah, the Nazis tried to eradicate the Jews. But what does that have to do with stand up to racism and their protesters chanting and calling people Nazi scum?
We're almost there, just a little more history. These statements are a specific and insidious form of anti-Semitism. This is deliberate Holocaust inversion. It seeks to minimize, and in some quarters completely deny, the atrocities of the Holocaust by casting its primary victims, or their descendants, the State of Israel, as the modern-day perpetrators of similar crimes. It is a rhetorical tool used to delegitimize Jewish suffering and demonize Jewish people. This anti-Semitic trope relies on the harmful stereotype of Jewish people as powerful, cruel, or secretly manipulative, suggesting they are the architects of their own oppression. The intention behind this targeted harassment and hate speech is to inflict pain, not to identify. It is deliberately chosen due to the deep historical trauma Nazism evokes for Jewish people. Calling a Jewish person a Nazi is a malicious abuse of history, designed to inflict pain. Now onto the labeling of British people as Nazis. You've seen it. You've heard it. A protest. Passions running high. And then, the chant begins. Nazi scum, hurled not at a goose-stepping fascist, but at police officers, at political opponents, at anyone standing on the other side of the line. It's meant to sound powerful, a definitive moral judgment, but what is it really? It's the end of argument. It's the collapse of reason, and it's a disgusting misuse of history. When protesters use a word like Nazi, they are engaging in what's known as political hyperbole. They're deliberately escalating the argument to its absolute extreme. By invoking the Nazis, widely regarded as the embodiment of modern evil, they're not trying to debate their opponent's stance. They're trying to portray it as morally indefensible, a position so vile it doesn't deserve to be heard, only condemned. And in Britain, this insult carries a particularly toxic irony. Our 20th century national identity was forged in the fires of a war against Nazism. To label a fellow Brit a Nazi is a profound accusation. It implies they are a traitor to their own history, an ally to our nation's most notorious enemy. It's an insult rooted in the very fabric of our national story. This tactic is so predictable it has a name: Godwin's Law. First coined back in 1990, it observes that as any discussion grows longer, the probability of a comparison involving Nazis approaches 100%. For many, the moment the Nazi card is played, the conversation is over. The person who said it has lost the debate. But that misses the deeper point. The law's creator, Mike Godwin, wasn't trying to make a game out of debate. His purpose was pedagogical. He said, "I wanted folks who glibly compared someone else to Hitler to think a bit harder about the Holocaust." And that is the heart of why this is so disgusting. Every time Nazi is screamed as a cheap political insult, it trivializes the systematic industrial-scale murder of 6 million Jews and millions of others. It flattens an unparalleled historical horror into a playground taunt. Mike Godwin himself said that thoughtful comparisons might be valid, but what we see on our streets is the opposite of thoughtful. It's a glib, lazy, and ignorant abuse of the past. This isn't fighting fascism. This is intellectual bankruptcy. It's a confession that you have no better argument to make. It's an attempt to intimidate and silence, not to persuade. When you hear that chant, you're not hearing the voice of morality. You're hearing the sound of a debate that has already died. Okay, let's get back to the proposals and negotiations on the concept of a two-state solution. 1993, the Oslo Accords. 1995, the Oslo II Accord, formerly known as the Israeli-Palestinian Interim Agreement on the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. 2000, the Camp David Summit. 2005, the dismantling of all Israeli settlements in the Gaza Strip, the evacuation of Israeli settlements in the northern West Bank, the complete withdrawal of the Israeli military from the Gaza Strip. 2008 Ehud Olmert's peace offer. All the efforts, concessions, and offers made by Israelis were rejected for one reason, and one reason only. The Palestinians would have to accept that Israel is real. They would need to peacefully coexist with Israel, with their Jewish neighbors. Not insignificant in this timeline, Hamas took control of the Gaza Strip in June 2007. What did they do? They built tunnels and infiltrated United Nations schools to indoctrinate children with their radical ideology. They taught kids to hate Jews. The Hamas Charter of 1988 enabled the dissemination of the term Nazi, but Hamas knew they couldn't defeat Israel militarily, and they also realized after a time that the language and tone of their 1988 charter wouldn't be accepted by non-Muslims. It was too radical. A different tactic was needed: social engineering. So they began their project of social engineering in the United States over 3 decades ago. In 1993, senior Hamas figures met in Philadelphia to strategize on how to infiltrate American institutions, including universities, media outlets, and research centers. This meeting was monitored by the FBI. The primary method to achieve this infiltration was to make the organization's agenda more acceptable to American audiences by framing their objectives in the language of human rights, justice, and social justice. Organizations like Students for Justice in Palestine were part of this long-term strategy to create sophisticated networks within American universities. These tactics of infiltration and indoctrination of young liberal-minded students and other left-leaning organizations have spread globally, and this is what we see on our streets today. And then in 2017, Hamas published their general principles and policies. It is worth noting that this wasn't a replacement of the 1988 charter. The document's uniqueness stems from its lack of overt religious references and its strategic endorsement of armed resistance. However, the text is subtly crafted, with its omissions being as significant as its statements. Rather than adopting a truly secular perspective, authors appear to have deliberately downplayed the religious underpinnings of their largely secularly expressed evaluations without disavowing them. This approach suggests Hamas seeks to deepen its policies in Gaza while simultaneously expanding its support base. And now, only a few days into the ceasefire, Hamas have reasserted their dominance on Gaza. Not only have they openly proclaimed that they will not disarm and give up control of Gaza, but also rounding up and executing scores of people in Gaza. Videos are circulating of mobs chanting Khaybar, Khaybar, Ya Yehud, an Arabic rallying cry that alludes to the Battle of Khaybar in 628 AD. This conflict began when Muhammad led a substantial Muslim army to besiege Khaybar, an oasis in present-day Saudi Arabia inhabited by a Jewish community. The chant, which translates to "O Jews, the army of Muhammad is returning," is considered anti-Semitic. It is interpreted as a promise and threat implying the killing of Jews and Israelis, as they did on the 7th of October 2023. If you've been on a protest and chanted Nazi scum at anyone outside your group, please consider the implications of your actions. Reflect on why you might be blindly echoing the chants of a leader and the lack of empathy this demonstrates for those who fought against the Nazis and for the helpless victims slaughtered by such evil. Consider Hamas's long-term strategy, in which you play a role. Hamas seeks to portray each atrocity as an act of resistance, while simultaneously demonizing Israelis for their efforts to eradicate this contemporary evil for the benefit of the world. There's a reason you're called useful idiots. Reflect on that. If you found this video useful and informative, please consider hitting the like button to show your appreciation and help us reach a wider audience. Your likes encourage us to continue producing high-quality content that benefits our viewers. Additionally, we invite you to subscribe to our channel for more valuable and engaging content. By subscribing, you'll stay updated with our latest releases and insights designed to keep you informed and entertained. Don't forget to enable notifications so you never miss an update. Your support truly helps us grow and deliver even better content in the future. And last but by no means least, thank you for watching. See you next time.